Hey everyone, it's me, author Alexandrian Fonte, coming to you with our latest and newest review. Look, it's so much earlier today. I was actually off today, so I got some free time. So, we are getting more submissions, and I thank you guys so much for that. You don't know how it gladdens my heart, especially since I love to read. So I am so happy with these submissions. The only thing that I would say is, where is the romance? I'm missing the romance. So, get that romance in here. It doesn't matter what subgenre of romance that you're sending in, whether it's paranormal horror, fae, werewolves, vampires, whatever, as long contemporary, AA, IR, multicultural, mainstream, Caucasian, it doesn't matter. Just get in your romance because 3 days of the channel are basically geared toward romance. Those are you guys. So get that romance in here because we're missing it. And we love, I mean, come on, we're women. We love reading romance. So today's author is not a romance because remember, today is Friday. So on Fridays, we get to read whatever we choose. Friday is that day. So if you are a horror author, if you write fiction that is sci-fi, if you write fiction that is occult, whatever the genre is of fiction, as long as it is fiction. Unfortunately, we do not do faith-based romance, nonfiction, fiction. It's just we don't, unfortunately, and not to say that we're not religious or we don't believe in a deity or a god or whatever. That's not the case. It's that we just don't want to. Well, Jen and Erica, that's not their cup. They're not reading that. I actually have begun a few books that we got in anyway from the submissions, and I can't. So I'm going to make it clear one more time. We do not review Christian literature, whatever it is, whether it's contemporary, nonfiction, whatever. We just don't have anyone who wants to read it. And then, me personally, I don't read extramarital affairs. If it's a book where the character has no clue that this mofo is married, you can get by me with that because I loved Lena Hart's book. She had no clue. Nina had no clue he was married. He knew he was married. So she wasn't trying to be the side piece. But if your book is about a side chick or a side piece, don't send it to me. I'm Alexandria Infante. I'm like pretty much the owner of the channel. But don't send it to me. You can send it to Jen or Erica, Jenny Panoa or Erica Duquesne. You can send it to either one of them because I think Erica actually reads that genre. I'm not sure if Jen does. I don't think she does, but I know Erica does. So you can send your book to Erica. But if it's extramarital, yeah, don't send it to me. Sorry. It would only be in that case. And if you're unsure of what that means, then pop over and watch Lena Hart's review. Because in her book, Cash, no, not Cash, I'm sorry. Gabe is married. But it's a totally different situation. So pop over there if you're not sure if I will read your book or if any of us on the staff will read it. And you want to make sure, pop over there and watch Lena Hart's video. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put it here in the little subscribe box right there. So if you're not sure, we'll put the actual author of tonight if she has a YouTube page, and then we'll put I'll put Lena down there too, so that way you can go and check it out. So basically, tonight's review is, after I've taken up all that freaking time Tonight's review is of author Cynthia A. Knobel. And at the end of the review, I'll finish with the qualifications, but I don't want to take up her review time right now. So, the book is called Intent. And the little caption says, "Sometimes those you trust the most are the monsters you fear." Now, this was a really good book. Okay, so by now you guys should know that I love intellectual books. I just raved over, I'm going to try to say his name, Eric Nurster's book, because, the Pantheon of Gods, I really, Ophelia Bell's, I really loved her book because she had the mythology. Indeed Jones, I really loved her book because she incorporated the mythology as well. So, if your book is anything like that, that you do send to me because I teach literature, art history, and mythology. So I'm a serious, crazy mythology buff. And so, although this book doesn't have mythology, it does have history. And I love history. Come on, I just said I teach art history. What's up with y'all? So, this book opens up with history. So, I'm not exactly sure if this is a paranormal. I mean, it could be classified as a paranormal. It's sort of in between the two. So, you got a little horror going on, and you got the paranormal too because of the fact that there's witches in here. And most time when we say paranormal, people automatically think witches, vampires, ghosts, ghoulies, dragons, all of that kind of fae. All of that is usually in our idea of what paranormal is. So I'm seeing it as a little paranormal and horror at the same time because there are some gruesome stuff in here. So if you're squeamish, then it's not for you. But the whole thing is that I read it. Me, and I'm like the world's biggest wuss when it comes to that stuff. Where they bit the poor little kid's arm off, that freaked me the out. Because I'm from the genre, I'm from the era when if a kid got killed or a kid got harmed, if it was a situation like that where like he bit his arm off coming out of the freaking what you call it? Drainage thingy, whatever it's called. In my day, they would have showed the kid, they would have panned, and then they would just saw, you would have just saw a little blood like float away. You wouldn't actually see the kid's arm bit off. What is wrong with these people nowadays? I swear, America is so desensitized. But anyway, so the whole point is, it's not that gory because I read it. So, this is a really good book. Okay, so it opens with a witch trial. So, there's 7 people, and all of these people are being hanged. And so you're just like, okay, wait, what? And so that automatically, it automatically took me to like Salem witch trials already. And so this little girl accused 7 people of being witches, basically, and then the town hung them. So this was like in 16 something, and then it tells you, how the people were hung, and in that incident of those 7 people, 2 of them were little boys. So for some that might not be comfortable for you because there are some scenes that have to do with these 2 little boys. Because when I first read it, I was like, okay, but it's fiction. So that might actually bother some readers. So this book is not for the faint of heart. And so basically it pans and it shows you this whole scene that's going on and what actually happened to these people. And then it comes to modern day. And so, okay, the main character is Daniel McMillan. And he's a horror author. And so basically he's on that like, he's high up there like, who's a horror author nowadays? I can't think of anyone, but technically like book status, author status, he's up there like with James Patterson, Dan Brown, those type of people, like those million selling copy people. And so, So basically, he writes horror, but he doesn't really like the fact that he writes horror. It's like almost like he wrote it. He wrote a story. He sent it in. He was amazed that they accepted it, and then he blew up, and so he became like this big, huge, freaking horror author. And so people know him by face alone. That's how huge he is. And so, but the problem is that he doesn't really want to be a horror author. He made millions of dollars, and he became this, overnight success, but that's not what he wants to do. So he actually drinks. He drinks a lot. And so when the book opens, what it is that his because I told you guys I have to take notes. His publicist and his editor are like, they're pretty much like, dude, you drink like way too much. You just having too much fun. So you need to take a break because we are just not feeling what you're doing right now. So why don't you take a sabbatical, go over to Scotland, have some fun. He comes in and he's like, because when he got to the office first, he wanted to pitch a new book. And so he had been reading this, he'd actually been reading about those trials, which is what the book opens up with. He had been reading about that and the fact that they believed that the little girl who told all these people that they were witches was like crazy. Like she had a mental problem. And so, but because of the fact that she was so young and they were children and there wasn't like awareness as it is today, if you were possessed, if you were mentally unstable in that time period, then normally what they would do is they would just say that you were possessed, that you had a devil in you, and they would put you in an asylum, but they would classify you more as possessed, or she had the vapors, or she had this, or she had that, but not necessarily crazy, like mentally unstable. Because psychiatry, although you had Freud and half of this what Freud did is just so out there, and it's not even scientifically proven. It's been debunked. Like every time you turn around, a new method from Freud is being debunked. And so this pretty much shows you how the mindset of the mental acuity of people back in those days. And so he wants to research this to write a new book, but a nonfiction book. And so his editor is like, seriously, not feeling that? He's like, no. And he's like, just, you have another book on your contract, blah, 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 blah. And so he like digs his heels in because he's tired of the horror part. And so he digs his heels in, and his editor is like, fine. If it will stop, pretty much if it will stop the drinking and you doing whatever you're doing, let's touch base. You go over, you take a sabbatical, do your research, and then we'll touch base when you're done. Because who knows, maybe we could turn it into a horror. So basically that's what his editor is doing. And the publicist is like, well, why don't you take pic? And he's like, no, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to veg. I want to just be me, right? So he goes to Scotland. He gets he rooms with this lady who's just like maniacal in the fact that she doesn't want any women over. It's like the freaking 1900s. And so he rooms with her, and then he basically goes to the historical society because he wants to look up this stuff. And so Angus is the one lone person who works at this historical society because he's like, no one cares about history anymore. All anyone wants to do is like look it up on, Google or the internet. And so no one cares about actual, and that is just so sad to me. As a teacher, as an intellectual, that just hurts my heart that the young, don't even get me started. Anyway, and so, Angus is like, so it's just me here. And so he agrees to help him with the research. And then he tells them about an American research student who's over there as well. And that she would probably want to help too if he didn't mind. And so as he's doing this, he says, well, you know what? While we're doing it, I could also do a genealogy for you since you are of Scottish descent. This is one of my pastimes. I do this, it's like, he's pretty much like, I do this on the regular and it's fun. And, it would be crazy to see what actually happens with you. And Danny's like, oh, that's cool, totally do it, blah, 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 blah. And so they start researching and then all that stuff. And then he comes in one day, and then that's when he meets Ashley, which is I love the fact that she's Latina. Ashley Matthews. So, he meets her. They start talking. They hit it off, and then he meets her at the library, and basically he meets her at a bar. I'm sorry, he meets her at the pub, and so he was actually going toward the little dingy blonde bombshell that he had slept with like the night before or whatever. So he was going towards her, but then he saw this girl like sitting there, and she had all these books like in front of her, and she was like actually studying or researching in a pub. And so that caught his attention, and then he was like, what are you doing? And then they strike up a conversation. He forgets about Blondie, and then they basically find out that they have a lot in common. And so they hit it off, and then at some point they actually start dating. And so it's crazy. Then it's like a force that's following him. Like he looked up one day and there was a man watching him, and he's like, what the hell? And so like he ran toward the man to see, one, why was he following him? Two, what the heck? And he chased him up this alley, and then he just disappeared. And so that kind of like freaked him out, and he was like, what the heck, right? So then he starts talking with Angus, and then he starts having these nightmares. And then so while they're doing let me check my notes. Yeah, he starts having these nightmares, and then in these nightmares he's seeing like these really terrible, horrific things. He sees the two little boys, and so and they're like choking. And then he's just like, what the heck? And so he's having like these really horrific nightmares. I'm not going to tell them on the channel. Like, you'll have to read the book for them, because some of them are kind of like really gruesome. And so he freaks out, right? And then he goes in to talk to Angus. And then Ashley is there, because like by now they're actually dating. And so he's like, they start talking about the research, and then he goes, oh yeah, I just wanted to tell you about the lineage and the genealogy that we did. And so they start talking about it, and then come to find out he's related to the people who started burning all these people and hanging these witches. And so the last person that they hung, like the 6 people before her, were innocent. They were all normal human beings. The very last person that they went to hang was an actual witch. And so when they went to hang her, she cursed the entire town, the entire people, and their generations to come. And then she really I put a plague on you, the executioner and the people who, the council who basically said that she was to be hung, and and then her body was to be burned afterwards, right? So come to find out, he's related to these people. And then they dig a little further, and not only is he related, but he's related to the executioner, the man who killed these people. And so he starts having these crazy freaking dreams. And then his body breaks out in boils. And I mean, this book is freaky. But it's like freaky good. So that's all I'm going to say, because we are a PG channel. But remember, guys, this is horror. So if you would like to read this book is called Intent. And it is by author Cynthia A. Knobel. This was a good book. If I had to star this book, I would star a 3.75, because she keeps you engaged in the book. I love the intellectuality of the book. That's not really a word, but I'm going to use it anyway. I love that, because this is a high grade book, guys. And when I say high grade, not saying that anyone in our atmosphere or our whatever is dumb. I would never, ever say that. But when I say high grade, what I mean is that the word choice, and it's the way that I write. So the word choice is going to be above, it's college level. So a lot of, no offense, but a lot of the paranormal and stuff out there today, it's written, it stops at a 12th grade level so the average person can read it. So this is more of an intellectual book because, including the history and the word choices and the way in which the book is like developed. So I like to call those high grade books. So this is a high grade book. And that is why I believe that is why I'm starting this book a 3.75, a 4, because of the fact that it is high grade. I like like I said, the intellectuality of the book. I like the history. I like all of that stuff and the way that the author actually incorporated into the book. And there were like a ton of times where I was actually laughing out loud at some of the stuff and the way it was written. So this is a really good book. I really want you guys to go out there and get this book. If you are a horror fan, this book is for you. And it's called Intent. And it's by author Cynthia A. Knobel. Sometimes those you trust the most are the monsters you fear. So, it's called Intent. Now, tomorrow we are actually going to have a review. Like, I don't review on Saturdays, but oh my God, poor Brian Jackson's book somehow got we got hacked, which was insane. I didn't even know. Jen told me. And so several of the manuscripts got they're basically, the books are gone. So if you sent us get it out in a second. If you sent us a submission and we have not reviewed your book yet, please, please, please contact us, because it could have been one of the books that got smashed out or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what happened because Jen takes care of our logo email. So she just told me that we got hacked. So basically, we are going to review tomorrow, and we're going to review Brian Jackson's book because this poor guy has been waiting like forever. And so we will have a review tomorrow, and it will be of author Brian Jackson. And then on Sunday, we will be reviewing author Shelley Moss's Naja's Quest. That is our Sunday YA read. So that is pretty much it, guys. I thank you so much for watching. And remember, click that subscribe button up there. So, and then the little bell down there. So every time we upload a video, you will get it. And don't forget, check out the other videos up there, because you have other indie authors that are out here that are amazing, that they need some love too. So don't just watch your own, but go and watch the other ones and check out those books, and even purchase an indie author, even if you are an author yourself. There is nothing like showing your fellow indie authors love. I do it all the time. I buy books because a lot of the books that I have on my Kindle, most of the books on my own Kindle, I have bought them myself if they're not like the recent submissions, like the Siren Allen, the Kenya Wright, all of those books I bought myself because I support my indie authors, which is the reason why we started the channel. So if you are a reader, please check out these. Please, please, please check out these authors, because this is why we do it, because not only do we love them, but they're amazing authors. So like this book here, actually not that one. I haven't read that one yet, but like Cynthia Knobel's Intent. That's a really good book, and it deserves to be read. So you guys, check out the author. Make sure you go to her page on Amazon and show her some love. Get that book, because if you are a horror fan, it is for you. It's really good. It's really horror. And that's pretty much it. And I will see you guys tomorrow, because we will be doing a review tomorrow, regardless of the fact that I said I won't be doing Saturdays. But it's just not fair to make him wait that long. So We are going to review it tomorrow, and I will see you here. Peace and love, and I thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys tomorrow.